Where are we exactly?
Augusta. West Augusta.
Greetings and tales from the road. We're so happy that you can join us on Lemon Live at 5. We never know what's going to happen on the road. Sometimes the reception is good, sometimes it's not so good. But we're glad that you're here, and we're going to share your comments and take some of your questions and show you. And we've got a bunch of things that we want to talk about. We're live from uh, the road in Georgia, Augusta. We have gone through a bunch of places that we're going to show you as we continue on with the Lemon Live at 5. So glad that you're here. Hello, Don, says Maureen. Good to see you, Gino. Greetings, Lemon Nation. So good that you guys are here. Live long. So Marsha Miller, hello. Hello, everyone. Listen, so while we have good service, I'm going to get right to it because I'm going to share some tales from the road, some new polling that may calm your fears, right? That's why I said, don't get too anxious, be cautiously optimistic, but don't get overcome, okay? I know that's a lot, but everybody take a deep breath. And we're going to talk about this whole idea that Trump, not an idea that Trump is a fascist. We know that he has fascist tendencies. His language is the language of fascists and fascism. And also we're going to talk about polling. Okay, so let's start with the tales from the road. I just want to show you just one of the last things we saw because we went from Jacksonville and then overnight we ended up in Georgia, of course. The last person we spoke to in Jacksonville, just so you know, and this is Florida, and very excited. This person was very excited about voting for, let's see who. Here it is.
Made up your? Are you undecided?
Oh no, I've been decided a long time.
Can I talk to you?
Yeah, who are you?
How are you? I'm Don Lemon. Nice to meet you.
Don Lemon.
Hey,
oh,
how
hey,
are you?
Nice
Good to see
meet
you. How are you feeling about the election? Have you?
I think it's going to be like too close for comfort, and I'll be a little bit disappointed if it goes a particular way. But
What are the issues you're voting on?
survival of democracy. The Harris team is going to be better overall for the future of the country. January 6th was absolutely crazy. So.
How are you feeling about the polls and the potential outcome of the election?
Yeah, it looks extremely close, and we probably won't know the first night. Or I'm hoping it's not a repeat of the Hillary Trump election, which was kind of a surprise. Yeah. Trump tends to underpoll, so that's a possibility.
Yeah, but you're in Florida. You're red.
Yeah, that's the thing. My vote's probably not going to end up counting too much, but there could be a surprise.
No, your vote counts. I don't agree when people say that. I think every single vote counts, right?
Unfortunately, we haven't done a constitutional amendment to make it popular vote across the nation yet. We still have the kind of antiquated electoral college, but we'll see what happens.
So this gentleman is very popular on our social media. By the way, these things we're putting on social media, a lot of them, all of them, and so you can see them there as well. But because I think there are lots of people who believe that the electoral college system is antiquated, and it needs to, there needs to be some change as it relates to the electoral college, okay? But he is in red Florida, and he believes that it's going to be okay. He said maybe his vote doesn't really count. I don't believe that. But okay, as we were making our way from Florida to Georgia, we bumped into some folks. I thought they would be from Georgia. Turns out they were not. And when I was telling you earlier, you cannot judge people. You cannot judge a book by its cover, meaning you cannot judge on ethnicity. You cannot judge on gender. You cannot judge on looks. As we arrived, upcoming station in Georgia, we ran into two gentlemen who were veterans. And to me, a bit surprising as to who they're supporting. Here it is.
Welcome to Georgia, a battleground state. Who's going to win? Is it going to be red or blue? Is it going to be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? We're going to talk to some people all over the state and find out. Hey, guys, who's going to win the election?
I could only pray.
And that is?
Harris.
You hope Harris wins.
I hope.
You hope?
Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
Where are you guys from?
Florida.
You're from Florida. You're from a red state and you hope Harris wins?
I can't stand him.
Why?
Have you ever listened to this man talk? Really? Have you listened to this man talk? Trump? Have you listened to him? Seriously?
Yeah. Oh, you asking me?
Yeah. And you can believe what he says? You got to be joking. You've got to be joking. This man is more senile than Biden could ever think about being. I just hope, like I said, that they will let us just get her in there. I believe she's got all the possibilities.
All the possibilities. And again, that's a veteran. As I spoke to them, they were not happy with how Trump turns in. Remember the Arlington National Cemetery, that whole incident, veterans benefits, etc. Again, this is some, I believe, people that you wouldn't suspect that would be supporting Kamala Harris. And by the way, he says that he believes that she is going to win Florida, that she is going to turn Florida. She is going back. Donald Trump is going back to Florida campaigning. What does that mean? There must be some concern in the Trump campaign that possibly he's vulnerable in Florida, and they're going to try to shore it up. Okay, so those gentlemen, there you go. You don't know what you're going to hear and see on the road. Okay, there is a we spoke to when people say that they're supporting either candidate. I always ask them, what are the policies you're supporting? What policies don't you like? Give me some specifics. So I ran into a woman as I was, going across the country and right there on the Georgia-Florida border, welcoming station. And this is what she said about why she's supporting Donald Trump. Watch.
Voting for?
What do you think?
I don't know. You who?
Trump.
Tell me why. Give me a reason. Give me some reason.
Okay, because of what he did for us 4 years ago. Biden has ruined our country, and the woke party, which he's part of.
Tell me, what do you mean by woke?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know they keep talking about woke and what they're doing with the kids in school.
But 4 years ago, he got us out. You said he turned the country around. Tell us how.
He improved the economy. He got the border closed. Feeding my family and my housing costs and gas prices. And
Think it's higher now?
definitely. Do you?
I just remember there was no food in the grocery stores, like during the pandemic. There was no food. And
Okay, well, that was not Trump's fault. Biden took credit for Trump getting the vaccine. Biden took credit for that, and I was happy to get the vaccine. I didn't want to get sick, and I didn't. I got my 3 shots, and I was fine. I've never had it. Yeah.
I thought that the MAGA folks didn't like the vaccine because they said that it was not good for you.
I don't remember hearing that at all.
All right.
No,
Why do you think you didn't hear that?
I don't know.
You think that it's because what do you listen to?
Because who do I listen to?
Yeah, what do you?
I listen to Fox
Yeah.
News all the time.
Yeah.
Just want Trump to win.
So-
Go Trump.
Okay, so there you go. Listen, I listen to Fox News all the time. She says about the economy, about how the economy that Donald Trump inherited, really an economy of months and months and months of job growth and positive news for the country after we were in a recession. Remember 2007 and 2008? Remember what interest rates were? Remember how much we were paying for goods? We had to have emergency help to pull us off the brink of a recession. Do you guys not remember that? I'm old enough to remember that. And then Donald Trump drove it into the ground, especially during COVID, by handling COVID poorly. Part of the reason there was because of the supply chain issues that there were no groceries on the shelves. Yes, it was a worldwide pandemic. And as Barack Obama said the other night at the Kamala Harris rally that he led, look, it would have been a problem for any administration, but they had what? They did drills. They did all kinds of testing. They had resources and systems in place to fix it. And basically, the Trump administration ignored all of that and did not do their due diligence. And so I said, I asked the lady, why didn't she know that? Because I listened to Fox News. Okay. I happened to speak to her son as well. And her son says that he is voting on policies, he said, policies which are either, he's against the LGBTQ or other stuff. There are 2 of him. Let's listen to the one where he talks about the LGBTQ. Hold the one, because I want to hold the 1 second where I actually show him evidence. I play it for him, and he still does not believe.
Clearly in the Bible that you can't be gay.
How you feeling about the election?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah. What's that hat say?
Trump Vance 2024.
That's who you're voting for?
Oh yeah.
Why so? Tell me, policies, reasons?
Because I'm a Christian and believe in God. and the policies the Democrats stand for. If you believe in God, you can't vote Democrat these days.
Tell me why you say that.
I don't stand for the LGBTQ community, and I believe, Kamala Harris paying for prisoners to get sex changes, change their bodies the way God made them, is not Christian. And I believe in God solely for that. I'm voting Republican.
Why are you against abortion and LGBTQ?
It's clearly in the Bible that you can't be gay. It's not right.
That's not what the Bible says.
Okay. Well, I'll believe what I want to, sir. And like I
Yeah,
said,
that's right. You
Trump
can.
2024 and go Trump and Vance.
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I really gotta use
What? And I was saying that's right. I wanted to say, yeah, you can believe in anything. Yes, it is, but don't you want the things that you believe in to be true or factual? But he just said, I can believe whatever I want. And then he goes, well, Trump, whatever. And so, look, I don't want to just sort of disparage anyone. Look, he's a very nice guy. But he's been co-opted by Trump and I believe conservative media and folks who just kind of sit in front of the TV all day and listen to one thing, one station, and so on. Okay, so that should be a bit concerning to all of us. Okay, so this is him again, and when I show him the facts, when I actually give him facts and show it to him, he doesn't believe it. Here he is again, same gentleman.
stand for the LGBTQ community, and I believe, Kamala Harris paying for prisoners to get sex changes, change their bodies the way God made them, is not Christian. And I believe in God solely for that. I'm voting Republican. Doesn't matter if it was Donald Trump or anybody else.
Can I show you something? Since you just said that, I'm going to show you something, and you tell me what you think.
Have you seen this ad? Donald Trump is spending millions attacking Kamala Harris on a desperate lie. Taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens is a Trump administration policy. He's attacking Kamala Harris for his own record, and he thinks you're too dumb to get it.
It is a Trump policy. She's saying that she supports the law, but you don't believe that?
No, I do not.
Yeah.
I've never seen Trump standing up on national TV supporting it or talking about it. He was issuing them to be able to do it. She was the one that gave them the permission and made it happen possible for them to be able to get this transitional surgeries. Go Trump and Vance.
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
She gave him the permission when she was a senator and Donald Trump was president. Kamala Harris somehow gave Donald Trump the permission. I have no idea. I mean, you guys tell me if you understand that. Okay, so you tell me why if that is the law that was a Trump policy and Kamala Harris as a U.S. senator said, look, I have law. How is it her fault? She is a former prosecutor. Like, she is bound by an oath and duty to support the law. And she can perhaps as a senator, maybe somehow, if her constituents, we need to change this law, then she can do that. But when something's in place, you have to abide by it. Okay. Yeah. So God, I don't know. We've been going across talking to and first-time voters. This is a first-time voter who is a student, and I'm going to show you some other student things, right? A first-time voter who is a student as well, who said he is excited about voting.
Time voter?
Yes.
Are you excited about voting?
Yes.
Yeah. What are the issues you're voting on?
I'm voting on issues like abortion's rights. Like, I believe that women should have the right to choose what they want to do with their bodies.
And who's that candidate?
Kamala.
Yeah. And any other policies? Is that your most important?
I think right now that's my most important.
Yeah. I just spoke to a gentleman. He said he's voting against wokeness. There's too much wokeness.
I think I know what side he might go for with him saying that. So I think he should think a little bit more about it before just saying, I want to vote for against wokeness, I think he should think about that more.
Okay, so you said because Trump is on an all-out mission. I'm going to show you our friend of the show, Pete Hamby, is also doing a college campus tour, doing some things that's very similar to what we're doing, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. But I just want to say, everyone is going after the young voters now, even though historically young voters do not show up en masse to vote. Like they always try to count on that demographic, and then they do not come through because they're just not that engaged. They're just not that interested. But there's an all-out push for every single demographic, and we know that this election is going to be won on the margins. And so they're going, especially young people, especially after that, Taylor Swift said, hey, go vote. And this is who I support. I support Kamala Harris. Donald Trump went on an all-out mission to win the manosphere and to win young male voters. And it appears to be working in a big way. But also, there are young people on college campuses who are actually going out in droves, and they said they're supporting Kamala Harris. This is my friend Pete Hamby, and I believe he is on the campus of UMadison. Okay, so I want you to no, sorry, this is him and he is speaking to young voters. They support both candidates, but here's Pete Hamby talking to young voters. Listen, and then I want to know what you think in the chat. Here it is.
I think that January 6th was one of the most unacceptable attacks on democracy, unconstitutional. How can you vote for someone after something like that?
You said it was a day of love, though. In the last few weeks of the campaign, I've been traveling all over the country, talking to students about the election. Today, we are at Penn State.
Who are you voting for?
I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Why?
I like her compared to Biden. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that happen. I was like, okay.
I'm voting for Donald Trump. For me, it's really just the threat of rising global conflict. And as someone who is, a military age male, that thought is scary.
I am not a fan of Trump. I think it's all a show. I think he truly does not care about anything other than himself.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris. I just think that she has a lot of hope for a lot of common people.
I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Tell me why.
I feel like our nation was a lot better under his presidency, and he speaks to himself more as an outsider.
Yeah.
Of course, a little brash, but I didn't say I want to have dinner with the guy. I said I want to vote for him.
I'm voting for Kamala Harris because I'm a business owner. I also just like being in the middle class. I like that she supports the middle class.
Past 4 years haven't been great. Like, Kamala's only vice president. You still have power.
I do want Kamala to win, but Kamala upholds a very violent status quo that I cannot participate in.
Are you talking about Gaza?
Yes, especially in Gaza.
It's just
All right, so there you go. Listen, basically, he's just getting whatever, and I don't know if he in the rest of that video if he sort of pushes back on any misinformation, but that's why I said it's similar to what we're doing, but not exactly the same because we allow them to speak, and then we try to push back on some of the information. So, and I love Pete. Pete is doing something not the same as what I'm doing. Okay, this is Pete at the University of Madison. These are voters heading to the polls, and I believe these are Harris Wall supporters because the group, I think it's a rapper who is supporting Kamala Harris, I think is leading them to the polls. Here it is, University of Madison. That helps the Democrats, at least due to anxiety. There are, people on college campuses who are trying to get the young people to go and vote for Democrats, go and vote for for democracy. So, but look, these college kids, they have minds of their own. We've been speaking to them, and they have been saying things that we didn't expect them to say. But some people are misinformed, says Michelle in the chat. Let's see, who said that? Is that Michelle or Michael? Michelle Rogers. Some people are so misinformed. They are. A lot of folks are worried, and yes, some of them are misinformed. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about now is we've heard about the issues and why people are supporting the college students going to vote. The polling now. This is from my former colleague, and I'm going to play some of this, and I'm going to pause it, and then I'll play some more. Over at the CNN saying all of this sort of bedwetting by Democrats that maybe they should chill a little bit. This Harry Hinton and Aaron Burnett.
It's one of these funny things. Depending on which week, I get different friends from different sides of the aisle coming back to me
1 week it's the Republicans worrying. This week it was the Democrats that were worrying. But then you look at polling like that, and then we take a look at the race to 270. And I should point out the race to 270, the path to 270 for Kamala Harris is very clear right now. You know, you talk about Wisconsin. Let's turn that blue. All right, that gets Harris to 236 electoral votes. How about Michigan? We'll give her blue there. 251 electoral votes. How about Pennsylvania? Look at this. To 270 electoral votes if those Washington Post polls are in fact correct. And so she has a very clear path to 270 electoral votes. Of course, Aaron, I don't just like looking at one poll. I like to look at an aggregate of polling. So let's take a look at the recent aggregate of polls in these blue wall states. Now, what do we see? We see very close contests. It's actually closer than the Washington Post polls. But again, less than a point lead for Harris in Wisconsin, less than a point lead in Michigan, less than a point lead in Pennsylvania. But the bottom line is Kamala Harris, based upon these polling data, both from the Washington Post and in the averages, has a very clear path at this particular point, just based upon those states, to 270 electoral votes. The bottom line is I don't understand the Democratic panic right now because the path is clear.
It's clear, and just to make it
Okay,
very clear,
pause,
that
pause,
means she
pause,
doesn't need
pause.
to win any
Okay,
of those other states.
so pause, please. So there is a clear path, but if you actually, there's a path, but if you actually look at some of the polling, and I'll continue on, I'll show you after this of just how close it is on some of the seat to win. So there's a clear path. And again, I always tell you guys, polling, snapshot in time. But if you look at the momentum, and if you look at their also internal polling, there's also internal polling that is not shared with the broader public. There's a little bit more, not a little bit, it's a lot more accurate different metrics for it, okay? So, and they don't always share the internal polling with everyone. Now, also, there could be a strategy behind it. Maybe the Harris campaign is trying to get people, but I don't know, because then it'd have to be a conspiracy with all the pollsters, right? Someone said maybe they're trying to get people to believe that they are behind to get them motivated to go to the polls. Okay, you want to listen here to Aaron and Harry.
You have there, which includes North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. I mean, that's just to put an emphasis on it. But North Carolina is must win for Trump in any path he has to 270. I know. You've got early voting in North Carolina that has started, also in Georgia, and it has shattered records in both places. In Georgia, though, what is the number now, Harry? More than 1.5 million?
1.5 million.
Okay, and I had seen somewhere that it's double-digit percentage point, double-digit of who voted before. It could be 13% or so already of the electorate. I mean, those numbers are pretty stunning. So what are you looking for in Georgia?
Yeah, what am I looking for in these states? I mean, look, I think we're going to have a
Pause.
And I should
Okay,
point
so
out-
here's the thing
and I should
that people have been considering historically early turnout that it helps Democrats, okay? But considering what happened last time in 2020, and this is some of the reasoning of saying that the election was stolen is because of the early voting and the votes that they believe that, Democrats were given the advantage because of COVID and they got to vote and mail in. Donald Trump discouraged it and then they ended up losing. Republicans have learned their lesson now. So if you look at the early voting and the mail-in voting, you cannot just a Republican vote. And also early voting, even in rural places, is up as well. So you cannot discount that. You can't just think that it's just for Democrats. But I will say, historically, usually it favors the Democrats. But we're not so sure this time around. Harry's talking about what he's
for in these states. I mean, look, I think we're going to have a very close race in Georgia. Look at this. We got a point lead in the polls there for Donald Trump, well within the margin of error. Less than a point in North Carolina. 2-point lead for Donald Trump, again, well within the margin of error in Arizona. Less than a point lead for Kamala Harris in Nevada. So, even if we gave, Donald Trump, say, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you can still, in fact, get Kamala Harris to 270 by giving her North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So, again, I don't understand this Democratic panic, Aaron.
All right, so you don't understand it, and yet, so you've been looking around for reasons since it doesn't seem to add up.
Yeah.
And I know you have found something that has nothing to do with Harris that may account for it.
Yeah. Angry if opposing candidate wins. Harris voters, 52% would be angry if Donald Trump won, compared to just 42% of voters who would be angry if Kamala Harris won. I think Democrats feel like there's a lot more on the line in this election, and that's why they're panicking, even though the polls at this point say, Camote, por favor.
all righty. So there you go. Look, by the way, we were talking earlier this morning about people who have it, people who don't. Aaron has it. Harry does too. And they're having a conversation. Such a great camaraderie between the two because they're old pros and they're really, really, really great at it. Okay, so there you go. So Democrats, calm down somewhat. Don't get too comfortable. I'm just saying. Okay, because here's a poll. I'm going to put up this polling numbers. This is what came in. Saying. And let's see where it is from, that polling that we have. This is from Arizona. Arizona, Harris 47%, Trump 49%. Georgia, Harris 48%, Trump 49%. North Carolina, Harris 48%, Trump 49%. We must knock more doors, make more calls, mobilize more supporters to the polls. Donate now while there is still time. Paid for by Harris Victory Fund. So these aren't numbers that are being skewed and they're trying to play you on the Republican side. These are numbers from the Harris folks. Putting it out there so that you can see just how close this is and just how important this is. Arizona leaning Trump by 2 points within the margin of error. Georgia leaning Trump by 1 point within the margin of error. North Carolina leaning Trump by 1 point within the margin of error. Too close. Did I help you all with your nervousness and anxiety? I don't know. Did I? I'm not sure if I even helped myself. And I'm out here on the road talking to people. Okay. What do you guys want to know? Send me some of your questions and your comments, and I'll answer. Okay. Teresa made it twice. We have to win bigly, says Junie. Okay. Bing bong, election time, the most wonderful time, says Winston Sayer. What would you guys like to know from the folks who are out here? Because I have other stuff that I want to show you. But basically, it's about, John Kelly, who's saying that Trump was saying favorable things. Okay, we know that. We have folks who are on television saying, oh, well, that's not a big deal, that it's all baked in. Terrible. Some registered Republicans are not voting for Trump, says Ciara. Okay, then what would you like to know? What are your concerns, right? How did 9th, 2016? That's why. I'll tell you how I felt November 9th, 2016. It was very quiet in New York City. It was very ominous. You could hear a pin drop. I didn't hear any ambulances. Do you guys remember that? It was so dark. And people were like, oh shit, what is going to happen? And I did not know what was going to happen, but I predicted that it would happen. And folks were like, wow, I was hoping that I was wrong. Make sure you guys hit the like, hit the thumbs up, and, support us. Subscribe. It's free. Okay. Aunt Fern says, what do you think about voters that cite foreign policy? What do you think about voters that cite foreign policy as their reason for voting for DT? I think in many of these things, it's sort of the same thing about people who are undecided. Many of the people who are undecided is that it sort of fits within the permission structure to vote for Donald Trump because there is no one better on foreign policy than Joe Biden. And who is Joe Biden's vice president? It's Kamala Harris. Donald Trump to all of the G8, G12, to all of those summits. And the leaders, remember there was video that was caught. Some of the leaders were caught on tape laughing at him and saying, oh my God, what a disaster. He has no idea what he's talking about. And people who say, well, there were no wars. There were no wars. There were wars in places, but that we didn't. There was always something happening in Sudan, Africa, and other parts. There are conflicts that break out. Major wars, no. But what does that have to do with foreign policy? I think that people are just ill-informed when they do that. Ask MAGA and Trump's generals, and if not, why not? That is a very good question. Do they believe in Trump's generals? And if they don't, why not? Okay, so let me play this then. John Kelly is a general. John Trump's chief White House, what was he? He was a White House chief of staff. He was the longest serving chief of staff for the Trump White House. Now he is saying that Donald Trump, loves fascists and dictators, and he wanted to have generals Hitler, like Adolf Hitler. And again, this is coming from John Kelly. Here's Kelly on tape talking about Trump and Hitler. It's long. Listen.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He just, that'd be the end of the conversation usually.
Oh, wow. Again, that is John Kelly. Okay. Let me just put some of this up just so you know. These are people who worked for Donald Trump. Quotes of people who know Donald Trump best and who have worked for him. Mike Pence says, Trump's vice president, he's the vice president, come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year. Mark Esper, he was Trump's Secretary of Defense. Trump is not fit for office because he puts himself first. And I think anybody running for office should put the country first. James Mattis. James Mattis was Trump's secretary. Trump's use of the presidency to destroy trust in our election and to poison our respect for fellow citizens has enabled by pseudo-political leaders whose names will live in infamy as a profile in cowardice. Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people. He does not pretend to try. Instead, he tries to divide us. That's James Mattis, Trump's Secretary of Defense. John Kelly, Trump's Chief of Staff. Trump is a person that has no idea what America stands for and has no idea is all about. He is a person who admires autocrats and murderous dictators, a person that has nothing but contempt for our democratic institutions, our Constitution, and the rule of law. Mick Mulvaney is Trump's Chief of Staff. I am working hard to make sure that someone else is the nominee. Mark, Trump's Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump is a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. John Bolton, Trump's national security advisor. There will be celebration if Trump is elected in November. Putin thinks that he is an easy mark. Donald Trump wants Americans to treat him like North Koreans treat Kim Jong-un. Get ready. We have Cassidy Hutchinson, as you know, as Trump's assistant to the chief of staff. If Trump is elected president again in 2024, I do fear that election where we're voting for democracy, because if he's elected again, I don't think that we'll be voting under the same Constitution. It goes on and on and on, from Stephanie Grisham, his chief of staff to Trump's chief of staff to Trump's chief of staff. Okay. Trump's deputy press secretary, Sarah Matthews, also spoke out. Anthony Scaramucci was Trump's director of communications. Alyssa Barron Griffin, Trump's director of strategic communications. Bill Barr, remember the guy who made all the excuses for Donald Trump and for the Russia investigation and the Mueller report? He was Trump's attorney. I made clear that I strongly oppose Trump for the nomination and will not endorse Trump. One of the reasons I am against Trump as a nominee is I don't think that he is going to move the country forward. H.R. McMaster is national security advisor. On and on. Terribly divisive for the country, for Trump to run again. I mean, that's pretty damning. That is a whole list of a lot of people. I've never heard any other president have people who work for them speak with such poor disregard for the person in the office. Unbelievable. Okay. So with that said, these are the folks I just want to show you, but there are still folks who are making excuses for this behavior. Do you guys know who John Sununu is? John Sununu was over on the CNN defending the Hitler comments. And I'm going to play some of it. I don't know if I want to play all of it, but it is basically saying that this is baked in and nobody cares about it. Here it is.
It's good to see you, Governor. Thanks for being here. Hearing that,
you bet.
Does that change how you feel about Donald Trump and your plans to vote for him?
No, look, I respect General Kelly. I think he's great. He's got a long-term relationship with the president. You know, when you get into these final weeks, it's all about results. So of course you're going to get salacious things said and all that. And I'm not taking away the general's conversation with the former president. But at the end of the day, just what that poll that your team was just looking at, independents want results. They don't want that kind of ultra liberal extremism. They want to be told the truth. They want to get their cost of living down. That's where voters are going to go. So it's not just a Chris Sununu thing or a General Kelly thing. If you're talking to the American voters out there, they just need a cultural change coming out of Washington.
Okay. So there we go. So this is the thing when I have such this false equivalency and put in people. Why? Anyway, at least you get to hear it. I don't know, but I just think that it is very harmful because it sane washes and it normalizes this sort of behavior where people are saying it's okay. Same thing, very similar thing happening over at the Fox News. This is Brian Kilmeade on the morning show making excuses for the Hitler thing as well.
Bottom line is, if you read H.R. McMaster's book, who is critical of President Trump in some of it and not in others, he talks about how Madison Kelly didn't like the president, and they didn't think he deserved the job, or they didn't think he was worthy of the job, and they went out of his way to make sure a lot of the things they asked him to do that they didn't like never got done. McMaster would be frustrated because he couldn't get their attention, and he would say, it's not your job to rein in the president. It's your job to do what the president wants. And then you factor in the fact that he runs his own company, coming from the business world, the first one we've ever had. It's not even a public company. And then he obviously has frustration. And I could absolutely see him go, now, you know what? It'll be great to have German generals that actually do what we asked them to do, knowing that's a third, maybe not fully being cognizant of the third rail of German generals who were Nazis and whatever. But he was frustrated with the slowdown of
it wasn't just a slowdown, it was insubordination. And there is a culture within Washington, not just when it comes to the generals, who by the way should be fired up.
Stop, please. What the living are they talking about? Seriously. The chief of staff is there for a reason. The chief of staff is not a stenographer or someone notes and like an assistant and does what the president says. The reason he's the chief of staff is because he's there to advise you, and he is there for you to listen to his input and his advice and experience of probably being in a White House and dealing with things in the Situation Room and so forth. These people are so far up Donald Trump's butt, it's unbelievable. And they will make excuses for anything that he does. It's insubordination. What is he talking about, insubordination? If you have advisors, that's what they're supposed to do. Advise you. You hire a chief of staff to do what? To help you. And if your chief of staff, who you hired and recommended and said, I only hire the best people, all of these people that you hired are the best people can't all turn out to be the worst people. And they all can't be wrong. It's never his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. What is that? Okay? That's what it means. It's a freaking cult. Okay, so let's get to the October surprise. Because it's this thing going around and that there's an October surprise out there, and that according to the person who said it, he says that there had been people out there passing stories, trying to sell stories, not sell stories, but pushing stories, trying to get the people to sign off on them and to either run them in their organization, broadcast, what have you, newspapers, print. And he says Mark Halperin, who was once the ABC political director, is now has its own platform, and he is saying that there's a story out there that would, if it came out, that it would be the end, if it is true, for Donald Trump. And everyone about it, trying to figure out what it is, if it's real, if it's not. What exactly is Mark Halperin saying? Here's Mark Halperin on his platform just yesterday. Here it is.
These last 2 weeks are going to be filled with things like this. And I can tell you, without going into detail, that I've been pitched a story about Donald Trump now for about a week that, if true, would end his campaign. And there's all sorts of things like that flying around. I'm not the only one who's been pitched it.
So he's one that has been pitched, and he said there are, people are trying to pitch stories on both sides, but he's saying that this one story, if it is true, he said when he explained it, he said, I'm just talking about what happens in the last days of the campaign. And so I don't know if this story's true. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay. And I will talk to Mark and I'll see if I can get an idea for you guys to figure out exactly what it is. Okay. But there you go. So people have been asking me, what is it, Don? What is it? I don't know what it is. But what do we have here? Let's see. Hang on, I'm getting some new information. Okay, let me double check to make sure that is this real? Nick, you hop on. Nikki, can you hop on and talk to me over the stream? Now, do we know, is anybody else reporting this?
Hi.
I don't know that this is true or not. And we don't want to say what it is, but I don't know if this is true or not. Is anybody else reporting this except for what we saw?
We haven't seen anything just yet. This is from a major Democratic strategist who did used to work with Nikki Fried, but unclear yet if it's been confirmed. So we are looking.
Reporting based on this tweet. Okay, so Content John is in the back. Content John. Are you seeing any other credible? Who's reporting it?
I am seeing other people talk about it based upon that tweet. So
But is it other legitimate
Exactly.
organizations? Is there a Washington Post or a New York Times or a CNN or a Fox or anybody? It is just people on social media talking about it. Then we're not going to talk about it because we don't know if it's true or not. And I don't go out. I like to report facts, so we don't know. But anyways, if you want to go on social media, you can look for it. Okay. So not really worth speaking about according to Content John. So I don't think it's real out. And we don't know. And just because something is on the internet, anything can be on the internet, and we know things that not often true, especially if it is coming over a certain platform that has been known for misinformation over the last couple of years. Okay?
Exactly.
So
And we will
there you
keep
go.
looking. So we'll
Yeah.
update you.
And if a legitimate news organization starts to report it, then we will report it. But here's the thing, Nikki, I don't know if you were around or whatever, but I remember the October surprise of the Access Hollywood tape. And I sat on that anchor desk for, I believe it was 5-6 hours, waiting for the Trump campaign to respond, for him to put out a video that looked like a hostage video. One of the only times I believe that he ever apologized. And then I remember every single Republican who had supported him pretty much died in saying, I cannot support him. He should not be the nominee. He needs to drop out. He is awful. He is terrible for this country. 2 weeks later, they were all back behind him again. So
Exactly.
I
It
don't
didn't
know.
last. So
It did not last. And he became president. And guess what? He became president and Billy Bush lost. And the same thing is happening now. Donald Trump may become president and Rudy Giuliani is in the poorhouse and had to declare bankruptcy. Donald Trump may become president, and all those people who broke into the Capitol because of his lie ended up paying the price and going to jail and having to pay huge fees and fees for attorney. all of those people, who were worked in his administration, and some of whom were his advisors, ended up with brushes with the law and having to serve time and facing consequences. And Donald Trump is out here running for president, as I say every day, on his private plane, in his penthouse, luxurious penthouse in Manhattan, or at his beachside resort in Palm Beach. Rudy Giuliani still has dye, I'm sure, somewhere running down his face when it gets hot. So anyway, so we don't know about, again, we do not report things that are not true. And I hate to even put it out there because I thought it was something that was real, but we don't know. And so we shall see how this unfolds. But if this is an October surprise, boy, it will be a real October surprise. Okay. So anyways, I would like to leave you guys with something funny, because I always do. This is a new ad. Thanks, Nikki. This is a new ad from the Harris campaign about what kind of house Donald Trump should be in. Here it is.
We were so worried.
They're eating the dogs.
He wasn't making any sense.
The people come in. They're eating the cats.
And he just kept getting worse.
They did dumps. That's what they call them, dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Gross.
In Michigan and Pennsylvania. All over.
We had to do something.
They will take the life of the child in the 9th month. Even after birth, they'll execute the baby.
You sound crazy right now. Then a friend told us there was somewhere he could get the help he so desperately needed, called A Place for Trump.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Now he has round-the-clock support and can enjoy the things he loves, like eating cheeseburgers and rage posting at 3 a.m.
I know windmills very much, and they're driving the whales, I think, a little batty.
Sure. So this November, let's vote to put him in A Place for Trump, because we all know he belongs in a home, just not this one.
I have concepts of a plan.
Of course you do.
I actually think that's pretty good. We'll see if it works. It's anybody's call. Okay, listen, I'm going to put some of your comments and then we'll move. So Derek Jones says Native Land Pod and Lemon Nation are the only political pods I listen to. Yes, thank you very much for that, Derek Jones. Let's see. Shack Lady Arizona says God is with Trump no matter what you do. Okay, thank you if you believe that. Thanks, Don and team, says Kristen Thompson. Why does Trump have such a hold on these people, says Jujubee 711. I have no idea. I do not know. You'd have to ask a higher power than me. That not have any sort of experience with deprogramming people or experience on cults. Ready for her to win so I can stop stressing out, says Stephanie D. Gino Maynor says, haven't seen the video yet. Okay, so we're talking about, so we'll see if any of that stuff is true. Folks of you are also talking about how you feel about Mark Halperin. Yes, we know, but that does not mean that, Mark Halperin had an issue where he was canceled and there was, accusations of sexual harassment and all of that. I don't know if any of it, I don't believe any of it was adjudicated in court. I'm not sure. I don't want to say if it has or hasn't because I don't know for sure. But anyway, Mark Halperin was a political director for ABC for a long time. And then he worked on a show called The Circus which was legitimate, right? And did some great reporting, well connected. And so, listen, I don't know, but that's what he is saying, and I don't think he would say it unless there was some truth to it, and perhaps it is coming out now. I listened to you, Don, and Alan Lichtman. Thank you, Heather Grass. I appreciate that. Where can we go on social media to find this story? I am not going to go into that. You can go and do your own thing. Okay. So again, I don't know if it's true or whatever. So let's move on from that. So listen, we're continuing. Kana Dunn says, I miss you on CNN, especially this election season. Thank you. But you have us here. All right, you have a realer version. I missed the circus. It was good, says Miss McPherson. I do as well. Okay. So guys, look at our stuff. We have great stuff that's on every platform that's here on YouTube. We have great stuff that's on the TikTok. We have great stuff that's on, also on Twitter and Instagram of our trip around at least up the East Seaboard, going through the swing states and the battleground states. Wait till you see the stuff that we got in Georgia and the Atlanta area. It will not disappoint you. Again, some of it may not be exactly what you think, but we're going to let you have it. Okay? Hang on. Let's see. Let me see. I'm getting some other thing. I hope this doesn't get me off. Let's see. I want to make sure. Hold on.
Don, we lost your camera.
Yeah, I know, because I'm looking at something else. Sorry. I should something else. I was trying to read a text that someone sent me. Okay, right. This is way better than CNN. Thank you very much. Laura doesn't take your place well. Laura, I love Laura. Come on, Laura Coates. All right, so thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you joining us, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our Hot Topic. I would love to stop talking about politics. I am with you guys. So our Hot Topic show was created so that we wouldn't have to talk so much about politics, that it would give us sort of a transition into just hot topics and maybe even fun stuff, rather than just talking about politics and all the division. I'm really over it. I've been the last decade as it relates to Donald Trump, and it is old, and he is back, and it's like, can we just, as I said on CNN, if you want to look at some of the GIFs or the GIFs or the video, my thing was, one night I came on and I said, how much longer is this going to go on? How much longer before we can do something like that? And I meant it then years ago, and I mean it now. Okay? So try to be happy and good and not stressed out and not anxiety ridden, and follow us along the way and hit the like and subscribe. And we appreciate you joining us, helping us to build this community and become a lemon head. Subscribe, it's free. See you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.